They're going to record. Okay, cool. So welcome to the February board meeting of the SPJ Freelance community. Ruth Toller-Carter, I think, is not able to make it, and I'm not sure if Solomon is going to be here because I know that he had something he's covering. So we will and hopefully get Ginny back and her connection will stabilize. But in the meantime, I shared the agenda through the chat there. Oh, thank you so much, Hazel. You're starting to already take attendance. I appreciate that.
I'm just worried that Jenny might not, I don't know. I'm sure she wants to take minutes, but I might as well.
And she and I have a worked out like a little system for her to be able to access the cloud recording. And she, I'm not sure if she does minutes like in real time during the meeting. I think she might go back and watch the cloud recording and do the minutes. So she'll be okay for that in any case.
Okay.
But thank you. So I do just on the admin side, just nothing to do about this or say about this, but just acknowledging that we do need to get going on the bylaws. And so that's me and Ruth Toller-Carter and Solomon, and Joan had offered to help as well. And Joan, just to give you an update, there is no update. we haven't started that yet. So I do really want to make sure that that is all in place. Ideally this summer, or at least by the fall, before EIJ. So we'll get going on that. And here's Ginny again, hopefully coming in. Hi, Ginny, welcome back. Cool. Welcome back, Ginny. So on the admin front, Ruth Nasrallah emailed this week to let us know that she's not going to be able to stay on as the at-large member, just due to like sort of overwhelming number of obligations and responsibilities. So she was really bummed to not be able to continue. And I know that I'm certainly disappointed that we won't have the benefit of her perspective going forward. But it's been great to have her on the board for a few months and get to know her better and get to work with her. So it's been nice. And I wanted to, hi Solomon, welcome. I'm glad you could make it. We're just talking about Ruth Nasrallah needing to resign from the board due to just overextended time commitments. So that means we have an open spot on the board. And since we don't have bylaws to tell us what to do about that, we can make it up as we go along. So what do y'all think we should do about the open spot? Should we try to hold a special election, or
I think
is this something we could put in our, could we put this in our Facebook group and just say there's an opening for at-large member? If you're interested, please email us and just see if we get anyone there. And if we get no one, then we'll have to hunt. But if we get a couple people, maybe we could have a little kind of a special election.
I'd be tempted to do it in the newsletter instead, because only freelance community members can be on the board. And
right, but wouldn't this entice people to, hey, I want to get involved, let me join? You know what I mean? You can just say you have to be a member of the freelance community in our.
You have to be a member of SPJ.
No, you have to be a member of the freelance community to be on the board.
But I think that in some sort of announcement, you need to say you have to be a member of SPJ and a member of the freelance community. Otherwise, people are going to be like, well, I'm a member of the freelance community, right? So.
Yep, I've developed pretty standard language because it comes up so often. So that is not a problem. I think I'm tempted to just put it out there through all of the regular channels that we advertise on. So
My
that would
only
be-
concern, I mean, I think it'd be good with a newsletter too. I just wondered, could it get lost in there? Will more people just do a quick scan of Facebook or on Twitter with Susan's Twitter, we could just to kind of reach everybody.
Yeah, if we just cover our bases, if we
Yeah.
post about it in the freelance community Facebook group, have Susan tweet about it, include it in the newsletter, and also put it in SPJ leads. So just do all of the standard places that we advertise.
And could you please put what is expected? Because again,
Yeah.
people might know what is expected and then they might actually go for it and then find that again, they've overextended themselves and then
Right, that's true.
so it's going to be just that kind of, be good to actually put a kind of a description as to what is expected from that particular role.
Absolutely. Thank you for that reminder. And we do have job descriptions from the last election. So that's pretty much already written.
This is an at-large position, so there's no specific thing
Right.
other than attending meetings and contributing.
I would say just say typical time commitment is, I don't know,
Yeah.
2 to 5 hours a month or whatever you make of it or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Hillary, if you're going to write something, I know you've got the language all down pat for them, and you know what I am like when I have to write something. So if you if you could send it to me, then I'll put it in the newsletter for Monday.
You got it, Hazel.
Yeah.
You got it.
Oh,
Hi, Solomon.
okay, you can hear me. Sorry about that. I'm using a different computer. I was getting ready to go work on something, but the time got pushed. So I have a little bit of time for the meeting.
Okay, cool. I'm glad you could join. And Zoom probably told you when you logged in, but just as a reminder that we're recording the meeting.
Yes,
So that in case anybody wants to see it afterwards.
which is why I did not want to expose anyone to the way I look right now. So.
Fair enough. Okay. So maybe next, let's jump to membership report. Hazel, do you want to give a membership rundown? Thank you for submitting a report in writing this month. Very
Sure.
exciting. Very
I'll do it every time there's something to say, and this is the first time in a while that there was anything to say because I haven't had a roster. But now that we have a roster, well, we only missed 1 month for the roster. I'm noticing that they are using the same pull from the database that is faulty for a number of reasons. And I am going to try to have a meeting with Amy Monteleone, who is the person in headquarters who takes care of the database. She's new, she's learning it. So she used an old pull, but she did manage to correct something from the previous one. So,
Right.
Right. So, but we don't have expiration dates. And that's a problem. And I do want to, I'm looking forward to having a chance to talk to her.
Okay.
But basically, I guess you can read what I wrote, or I'll just say it out loud. We have our net growth is 37 members since early December, which is good. We still don't have the information to know really who's new to the freelance community. It is quite a pain to crunch that, do a comparison of one membership roster against the previous one. But I'll do it. I just got the roster on Monday, so I didn't have time to do that. I would like help if anybody knows MailChimp. I would like help in updating the subscriptions to the newsletter every time we get a new roster.
Is this something that like like we could ask a volunteer to do, or is the information that's there like too sensitive?
I don't think it's sensitive. I'm not concerned about it, but I just was hoping that somebody could go through it with me and help me come up with something that I can do. Or in the future, I'm hoping that we will have volunteers to do some of that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I am, as some of you know, and perhaps some of you don't, I'm going to be retired by the end of the year. And that means that basically I'm not going to be doing what I'm doing now. So Hillary's been spending time with me. We're trying to figure out what we need and ways to approach phasing me out of my volunteer role.
So Hazel, would you like me to put a call out on Facebook? I don't think that's a Twitter question. Asking if there's somebody who has expertise in MailChimp who might be willing to volunteer. I don't, what do you think? 2 hours? 2 to 3 hours?
Probably 2 to 3 hours altogether to just go through it with me and help me figure out what the right thing to do is. I do want it to be an SPJ member because, you know, there is our membership data. And so, but I can set up work sessions on Zoom.
Mhm.
So I could be doing all the manipulating and the person could be looking at it and helping me figure out how to do it. Thank you, Susan. I like that. Thanks.
That's awesome. Thank you, Susan.
It's something that it's not like the commitment of being on a board, so it's something specific that we can maybe
Yeah,
we
and I
can
think-
rope them into being a board member eventually.
And I
Yeah.
think that really the more we put out calls for people to just contribute on a one-off basis like that, the better. I think that's a really like, it's a bite-sized way of people being able to be engaged. So I like that idea a lot. Thank you. And Hazel, when it comes down to like, once there is a volunteer in place, first of all, if we don't get any takers, then I can certainly go into MailChimp and help work something out.
Let's see if we can get somebody else to do it.
Yeah, that would be ideal. But just so you know, like if we don't get any other takers, then I can help with that. And then if you wouldn't mind just CCing me on your correspondence with them, like I just want to sort of know how that's going. And I want to know when it's time to include any documentation into that, the overall documentation for running the community that we've been talking about. Cool. Thank you. All right, I have a question for everybody, and this is a policy question. We don't necessarily have to come to a final decision right now, but I'd like for people to think about it because I do think that it'll be written into the bylaws one way or another. And the question is, what should the default like length of time be for somebody's membership in the freelance community to expire? Because chapter memberships, I believe, I don't know if this is like set by the national bylaws or if it's just the way that most chapters work, but chapter memberships expire after a year. And community memberships never expire the way that they're currently set up. And so it is a question of twofold. Like how, you know, it's a question of like, how accurate is our understanding of our own membership? Because we don't know who maybe checked the freelance community box, a few years ago, and maybe they don't even know that they're still a member of the freelance community. Maybe they aren't freelancing anymore. Like, it's just, since it's an indefinite and, subscription, basically, it just makes me wonder about that. And then it also comes up in light of the conversation about the delegate representation. And if there is going to be a move to give communities delegate representation, then that, I think, could be seen by some people as a matter of fairness, because it's possible that the freelance community membership numbers are inflated. So I feel fine with the idea of just having the membership expire after a year, and just doing, like, just being engaged with our members and trying to, encourage people to make sure that they rejoin. Now,
What about, what happens with people who do a lifetime membership to SPJ or more than 1 year membership to SPJ? Do they get, how will they, like, they won't remember, right? If they've got a lifetime membership to go in every year to like join a chapter or join a.
that's true. It would be incumbent on us to remind them. And that is something
Okay.
that is something that chapter leaders currently struggle with.
I
see. Okay. Question.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the mechanisms for us to know about these things? I mean, we're having some problems with tracking our own members and stuff like that because of so if we have to, when you join a chapter or you join anything really online, there's a reminder email that comes out, says, hey, you're almost time for you to re-up. We need you to rejoin, right? So then how does that work? Does that become incumbent upon us to send out individual reminders every time someone's leaving the community?
Yeah, so the system at headquarters has changed over the years for reminding people to renew. I think that frankly, it's gotten a lot worse. It used to be like, they just used to be really on it. And I know that, I mean, as involved as I am, like, my membership has totally lapsed a couple times in recent years. So there's two aspects to that. And one is, what does SPJ headquarters do to remind people? And then what is there that we can do to remind people? So there are moving parts to, like, there's the policy decision, right? That would just be a simple decision, but then to implement the policy is a whole other issue, because that involves getting expiration dates in the roster reports. It also would involve most likely an entirely different mechanism for joining a community on the website, because right now it's just a checkbox in your profile that you go to. So it would have to be set up in a different way, similar to the way that people join chapters. So it's not like we can just sort of like snap our fingers, even if we did decide that we wanted the memberships to expire after a year. We couldn't just snap our fingers and make it happen. There are technical aspects to the rollout. There would be technical aspects to the rollout. What yes, Hazel?
We had somebody ask for the sign in for this meeting. And but she didn't include her membership number. So I emailed Amy and asked her, could she tell me if this person's a member? Because she asked to come to our board meeting. And Amy got back to me and said, yes, she's a member. Here's her membership number. And I signed her up for your community. And I got back to Amy and said, I don't think it's a good idea for anybody, we're a membership organization. People should choose whether they want to be members
Yeah,
or not. And I didn't hear back from her after that. I think she's just frightfully busy like everybody else,
sure.
trying to learn her job. But I did say that, and I told her, Hillary, that you had been having some thoughts about this and that I was punting it to you. And I did email you, and I know that you have been busy like the rest of us. So
No, thank you for that though. And I do actually have kind of a bullet list of like a wish list. So thank
so
you.
at some point you should
this-
get in touch with her and yeah.
Okay.
Could this be something that we talk to National about, where, and it's for chapters too, where they say, okay, your membership is expiring, renew, whatever their standard email is. And then just like in that email, the reminder that if you belong to a community or a chapter, don't forget to renew your membership, or something like that. It can be, kind of just an encouragement or something in that email.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the improvements to the renewal process is in that bullet list that I've
Okay.
been developing with chapter leaders.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's some pretty simple fixes.
I just asked because I think maybe we should go with what's easiest for us to track and keep control of.
I can't hear you, Solomon. Can you say that again?
I was just asking because I thought maybe it would be best to go as easiest for us to track and keep control of. Because if we have to send out individual reminders for people to join the community, that's a lot of work. That sounds that doesn't sound tenable,
Well, so I think that the bulk of it comes from headquarters sending out reminders. But I think that as long as we have people's expiration dates in the roster report, I don't think that just sending out like a monthly, batch of emails to everybody who's, there's a simple way to run a report from the roster to find out, like, just get the email addresses of everybody who's expiring next month and just pop them into a BCC and send one email a month to everybody who's expiring.
That was the plan, but I can't do it if I don't know when they're expiring. But I also had intended to do an email to new members, people who have just joined the community.
Yeah.
But it's such a pain to do the comparison between last month and this month that
Yeah.
I just haven't done it yet, but it's been on my mind. Ginny, when you were membership coordinator, did you send out notices to people saying thank you for joining? Oh, Ginny, are you having voice problems again?
She's on mute right now.
Yeah, I know it.
I know at one point there were thank you for joining.
I think
I just-
sometimes, I don't think it was consistent. I think sometimes, but not on a consistent basis.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a best practice that, as we're working on improving the rosters that we get, and that's also like being notified when there is a new member of the community or the chapter, that's also in the bullet list of the wish list for HQ. But as far as the policy question goes about, like, should people's membership expire?
I think it should be the same as chapters, just so that the chapters that doesn't cause political problems.
Yeah, just as a matter of fairness.
Yeah.
The chapters are, I think, at wit's end over not being able to get information from headquarters.
But that's a separate issue. I'm hoping to just try to have a focused conversation about the policy on its, on its merits, not any of the logistics about how we would work with this policy, but assuming that all of the logistics and mechanisms could be worked out, what do we think as a board about how long somebody's membership should last by default in the freelance community? Should it
I
expire
I
after a
agree
year?
that it should just be, it should match what the chapters is, that it should match.
Yeah. I feel comfortable with that. Ginny, Solomon, and Hazel, any of you have thoughts about it?
You want to know whether we think you should send out consistent notices or?
No, I
We're
want to
amenable
know,
to what the
I want to
group
know
does.
whether you think somebody's membership in the freelance community needs to be renewed year after year.
I think my one question though is, so when you renew your membership, you would check a box, correct?
I don't know what the mechanism would be.
Okay, because I don't know if it's like,
mechanism.
if they're considering it like you sign up like a chapter, or if it's like they have it now where you have to go online, go through the rabbit hole of SPJ and try to
So-
figure out where you need to sign up for the
So
freelance
the
community.
mechanics of how we would implement it are a completely separate issue. I'd like to just focus on whether we should have it this way, assuming that I can figure out the mechanics and actually implement it. I just want to know if everybody thinks that that is what we should be pursuing, if that is how the freelance community should be structured.
I would say yes, if it's a checkbox, just like chapters. If it's treated the same way as chapters, yes. If it's that you have to go into the SPJ site and figure out where the freelance community is and then figure out how to sign, like, I think it can get confusing
Agreed.
if there's two different types of signups and people don't know. Are
Yeah,
they
it's gotta
part of
be-
the
the whole
community
thing's
or
gotta
not
be
part of the
equal.
community?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all got to be equal.
Okay.
And I also think too, just forget about what chapters are doing and that we really should match what they're doing. In the whole delegate conversation, is people's lives change, right? They may not be a freelancer next year. They may be in a different profession. They may have a full-time job. There's a lot of things. I think that a yearly renewal should be in place anyway.
Okay. So those are reasons for adopting this as a policy.
I think I like keeping it ongoing unless you uncheck, unless you choose not to do it.
I agree with you, Ginny. Because I know that the chapters hate the whole coordination thing. And, but they have expiration dates.
I'll tell you, being on this task force, I will tell you that is going to be a sticking point. If ours is just ongoing, they are not there. It's going to be a lot there. It's already going to be hard to get us some delegates. I think that's going to be a major issue. Just being in these task force meetings.
I think that's a fair sticking point, frankly.
I do too. I agree with that.
If we are going to have delegates.
Mm-hmm. And I think if no delegates, let's keep it ongoing. Perfect. Great. Why risk losing somebody who just didn't know to go in and how, that they had to renew each time. But if we are going to be voting the way a chapter votes and be assigned delegates, I absolutely think that we should have the exact same process. And I agree with Susan too. It can't be buried in a rabbit hole, but that's a different issue that we need to address. And I think that that will garner respect from the people who are opposed to this on the task force. That we're willing to do that, that we want to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
So one related question.
Yeah.
What is the chance of the chapters changing theirs to like until you don't sign up?
Well,
Like, is there a chance that that would change going the other way?
I can't see it. It seems like two factors would seem to make that a really complicated prospect, and just off the top of my head. One is the fact that a lot of chapters charge dues. And so there needs to be, an annual sort of re-upping. And then also, I think that like getting hundreds, I don't know how many dozens of chapters there are, but getting dozens of chapters to change the way they do something seems like a much bigger ask than getting 2 communities to change the way we do something.
Well, the way the international community does things is totally different anyway.
It is different. And I actually have floated this by Elle, and she is partial to the idea of membership just remaining permanent. But again, I mean, I just don't see how that could possibly fly if we're going to get delegates. Not that we know whether we are going to get delegates. But
It's like, in all likelihood, that would be the process, and that wouldn't work perfectly for us.
yeah.
Well, to me, the same is true for chapters. Like if you're a member of, say, of Cincinnati, as long as I'm a member, I'm still going to be a member of Cincinnati unless I move. To me, it's the same as a freelance community. As long as to me, the difference is if you're a member or not. And then if you're not, it's going to stop. But
don't you have to, for the Cincinnati chapter, don't you have to re-up your membership each year? Do you have to renew your chapter membership each year?
yeah, but yet as long as you're a member, that's what I'm saying. As long as you're a member, I don't have to go reselect Cincinnati. So why would I have to go reselect being a freelance community?
I think you do have to go reselect Cincinnati. I think that's been the issue.
In the renewal, right, in the annual
Yeah.
membership renewal process.
When I was a member in Houston, when I renewed, I failed to check the Houston. And then this was when Ruth was president and I was vice. This was my first year there. And Ruth is like, oh my God, Stacy, you're not even a member. And I was like, oh, I forgot to click. And I had to email Caroline to say, can you put me in the Houston membership? So, and I had to pay dues for it afterwards. I had to like send my dues in for that. So I just had that experience where I did have to do it. I got, I guess, quote unquote, kicked out when I renewed my membership the next year, just like you said, Jenny, I just assumed I would be I didn't need to do that. I was already in there. I wasn't on the roster.
Maybe I'm missing something because I know a couple of our chapter members have not been able to check Cincinnati lately. So I asked them to check on that. So maybe that might be a separate issue, but I thought my understanding was if you checked it, that you were always that, but maybe
and Jenny, in our task force meetings, they have all brought this up that you have to renew each year, choose each year to be in it, and they brought this up, and that's why Hillary and I, or Hillary's really brought it to the attention, because this was something that just came up at the last task force meeting, is that they have to have people renew into their chapter each year, and the freelance community doesn't, nor does the international community.
Right. And I think the last time I renewed online, when I was renewing my annual SPJ membership, I was prompted to ask because I've been a member of New England since I joined. And I was prompted to ask about what chapter I wanted to join, or if I wanted to renew New England. I can't remember. I should have taken screenshots. as I went through. Okay, well, this is a good, like I said, I don't feel like we need to necessarily decide anything firm in this conversation, but I wanted to just get the conversation going, because maybe at the next meeting or in a future meeting, just depending on, I'll work on getting a little bit more information to clarify the understanding of how the mechanics roll out, and how doable it is to get any changes that we would need implemented on the website. And then also depending on the activity of the delegate task force, maybe we could, have another conversation and maybe vote, on a more decisively about what we want our policy to be. But that's just something that's come up lately that I wanted to float by everybody.
And I think that we should clarify this. Ginny is assuming or believing that her people are automatically renewed, where at the task force meeting, like Colin is like, no, they're not automatically renewed. So I think we need clarification on that. How could, I think we need to get an official answer, not just from the, Colin on the task force or something. We just need to get, because they were very clear about that. So we need to make sure it's the same across the board for everybody, for every chapter right now. Maybe there is a glitch somewhere in the matrix.
Yeah, that's what it is. They said they weren't able to select our chapter, is what I was trying to say with the people. They aren't able to select Cincinnati. And my understanding was that was online and it was 3 people. So one guy said he wrote it in and the other 2 just said they didn't see a place where they could select it.
Huh.
So I don't.
But that's
And I wonder if it would be worth it. I wonder if it'd be worth it too, to have like someone we know who's not in SPJ to log, because we just get automatically logged in, right? When you would go online, but just have I'll have my husband go log in and say he wants to join, and where does he, what comes up? What comes up as his options? I think we should if we maybe just kind of did that on our own.
That's part of what I can do to just
I'll
get a little bit more clear about them.
I'm just curious. Yeah.
It's a good idea, because do you remember that Ruth Nasrilla went through that whole thing?
Yeah.
And had some problems. She didn't want to proceed because she was worried that her credit card would be charged.
Right. Okay.
So finish with it.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you everybody for your thoughts about it. And I guess just keep thinking about it, and then I'll provide any updates that I can. Actually, on that note, Stacy, do you want to give an update from the delegate task force?
Her soccer clothes are right down here, Corey. Sorry. The update on the task force is, I think we are making headway for sure. I think that they are open to it. It still feels a little bit resistant, but I think that's just lack of trying to figure out a fair system. And I think that I feel maybe optimistic is too strong of a word, but I do feel optimistic. Rebecca, the president, has been showing up to the task force meetings. I think that's great. John Schertzer's involved. So I think that there's this, that's definitely a step in the right direction. I feel pretty good coming out of those meetings for the most part. I do feel like we are still fighting an uphill battle. But I think people are starting to see us in a more serious light, and recognizing our worth and value to the organization.
Great. Okay. That's great. I thought that, so I was able to attend the last one, and I thought it was a really helpful, actually, presentation on a lot of the nitty gritty of the bylaws regarding delegates. So it did seem, like a productive use of time, lots of information shared, and deeper understanding is the impression that I got. So thank you for serving on it. And do we know yet when the next meeting is going to be?
Let me just see really quick.
And how many more meetings there will be?
Oof, that's a good question. We do need, remember we got the deadline of that we need to have a decision or recommendation submitted by I think May 31st.
Yeah.
So that's an update. So it'll be ending before that.
Okay. And I have a phone call scheduled this evening with Adam Sennett, who's chairing the
Perfect.
Delegates Task Force.
Okay, I'm just looking up his latest mails, and I do not see the next. I don't see the next meeting yet.
Okay.
So
Fair
it's
enough.
he's been doing them on Wednesday, so we'll probably coming up here in the next couple of weeks. We had 2 task force meetings this month in January already, so quite busy.
Cool. Well, thank you for doing it.
I get fired up, but I feel like I'm very level-headed in those.
Awesome. So maybe we could now transition to talking about programming. Solomon, you have any interest in taking it away, or do you want me to kick that off?
I can do it. Okay, so just really quick, it seems like we're all, the new year has murdered most of our schedules here in our lives. So to help us out, the tracking board that we use to decide what we were going to do, what programs we're going to push forward, I altered that tracking board so that you guys can use it as a central way for me to help keep track of the different programs that we're going to submit. I gave everybody their own column, and all you have to do is go onto that column and put all the resources that you need on those columns. You should have access to the board. If you do not have access to the board, please let me know by phone or text.
Can you actually pop a link to the board into the chat? Because I know that I have access to it, but I can't find the link to it. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Let me.
I will bookmark it this time.
Okay.
If you type in Trello, your history should, when you go to Trello, it'll be one of your board options because you've opened it before.
I know, but for some reason, I'm not finding it, and I'm
Oh,
on
weird.
Trello all the time using a lot of different boards.
Okay.
I
Do you
know.
ever use the Trello app?
I do use the Trello app on my phone, but I use just the Trello website on my computer.
Okay. Well, just so you know, the Trello app on your computer actually will keep track of all of your boards that you're doing a lot easier for you just in the future. That way you won't have to try to find a link for it. It'll actually have a little dashboard. But yeah, I can put that in the in this conversation as soon as we're done here. Just give me 1 second.
That's fine. And actually, I just found them. That's embarrassing.
Well, we got a lot of stuff going on. It's hard to see. So just a little overview. So here it is. Oh, sorry, different board here. Just bear with me for a second. I'm using a different computer than I normally use.
It's fine.
There we go. Okay, so all the ideas that we talked about that we liked, but we didn't push forward are in this evergreen section here. We can come back to that later. Here's the start here with all the little moving parts and arrows. I put some stuff in there for you guys to make this as easy as possible so we can manage this and start moving forward. Here we go. So I changed it. This is now going to be a tracking board for the SPG program. Each product is its own column for adding tasks, ideas, tracking materials. Please add any urgent issues or comments to the programming coordinator tasks and requests. So I have a special card for me. If you have any issues that you need me to address or any questions, even if it's just about how to use Trello, how does this stupid program work? You can put them in there as well as sending me by text. I have this set up so that when you change something, I get an email. I immediately know. And if you send me a comment, I know. Okay. I also put, for those of you not familiar with Trello, I put, there's a a few shortcuts, there's a video and some explainers on some simple stuff for iOS and Android if you're using it on your phone. So I have all of that in there for you so that you have access to some pretty good explainers on how to use Trello, because I know everybody's not familiar with it. The freelance corner, I'll be taking care of that, and I'll be working with Hillary on that. So that has its own column for ideas and stuff that we might do when we get there. And then everybody else, I gave you your own column. Your card's still there. You have your own column, so we can start working on these ideas. And then this week, I will try and call everybody, follow up with everybody, so we can get these moving forward. Does anybody have any questions on what I just said so far?
Yeah, I don't seem to, I don't have access to that board, or I don't know where it is.
I tried to put your email in there. Maybe if you could put your email in the group chat again, maybe I had the wrong email or something. Because I was trying to
Well,
send you a link for it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, let me figure out what email I have for the other one. All right, I'll put it in.
Okay, and then does anybody else have any other questions? No questions?
I don't think so. You know, I'm looking though at the freelancing 201. Is that what we decided on as the fourth
Yep.
session?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
We didn't like the title, I'll tell you that, but we couldn't get together to agree on the title. So I just left it at the last title. The question that we had on the Freelance 201 was how much of this was going to be included in that. And then I should probably talk to Ruth about that.
Okay.
She's
All
the
right,
one who
cool.
should be expanding that. But
Cool.
the rest of them, because we had the editor meet and greet was kind of a given. We only get 4. And then Freelance 101 was kind of a given. So really the only one that we really kind of had the discussion and decided on and voted on was the moving mediums.
Mhm.
And that was the main one. And then the Freelance 201, we decided to break that off from the Freelance 101 so that we have different levels in there.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure I'm on the same page as everybody. You guys froze for a minute, so I didn't hear quite everything. Is there a deadline yet that these need to be in the pitches?
No. Unfortunately, there's not. And I
Okay.
saw, oh shoot, did I CC you on that email today, Solomon? I keep trying to get more information because there hasn't been anything sent, but I also heard that the selection committee is having its first meeting this month.
Okay, so then maybe we should set our own deadline so that we don't let it hang out in the wind.
Yeah.
Wait, what does that
Exactly.
mean? The selection committee? The selection committee's meeting only after they get pitches, so they are expecting pitches this month?
I have no idea what it means.
Okay.
I emailed today Claire Regan,
Okay.
Regan, who is the president-elect. So she's
Yeah.
like the conference,
Mhm.
czar. And so I emailed her today to ask. I CC'd Rebecca because my sense is that Rebecca's very involved in it this year. I also CC'd Karen from the education director from HQ. And
No response yet?
And Solomon, I looped you in. No, I just sent it this afternoon. So.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do think that, yeah, we should set, I like that idea, Solomon, of setting some internal deadlines for us.
And can you sense my panic? I haven't started yet, so that's why I'm a little bit like,
Yeah, I can sense everybody's panic because it all flows through me because I'm
like,
so,
what do you mean the selection committee's meeting?
Yeah, so my idea was to try and get this done, or at least have it sketched out within the next 2 weeks. I'm going to try and be the floater to go through and help facilitate whatever you need.
Okay.
And then try to use the board as the central way to organize it. I know a lot of us were using Google Docs and stuff like that, you can attach your Google Docs to your card. So that way the documents are all in the same place. We don't have to send stuff and shit. You just go to the card and you can see it. That was the whole point, to streamline the process. So we don't have to have as many meetings. So we can start virtually meeting through these cards and doing this stuff.
Does
And
anybody
again-
know if the selection committee changes each year?
Yes,
I think so.
Okay. I just want to know how much of the same verbiage I can use from last year.
you can use
That's
it all. So what?
Okay, good.
Was popular program, they're not gonna say no just because it's the same as last year.
I'll be like, this is the real MVP. Pick me.
Oh, Hazel, you should have an invite in your email.
Okay, thanks.
And then my strong suggestion is, if you have the ability, install the app on your computer. It's just
Okay.
easier. It's an easier way to use the program.
I will do it.
And then there is also the, okay, so, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. What did you say you wanted, our drafts to you? What's our deadline for getting these sessions?
Okay, that's the next part we should do here, because I was going to ask you about that, because they're meeting. Again, I don't know what they're doing in their meeting. So do they have pitches from other people? We don't know.
But
What's
have
the
they
date of the-
announced a procedure yet? They haven't announced where the form is that you have to fill out, have they?
I don't think so. I don't know. That's what I asked Claire about this afternoon.
Okay, good.
Some of these have formats from before, right? Some of these are pretty much formatted or kind of drafted out because they've been presented before. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right? And then that should be in the SPJ Google Drive, right? Some of them?
Yeah, and we do have a lot of that stuff. The work is going to come in getting speakers. That's really that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's next on my list to discuss as soon as we finish with this part here. Because I was hoping to try and get these drafts completed within at least the next 2 weeks. Is that a reasonable goal for everybody, or?
So that you mean the proposal
Yeah,
with or without speakers? Yes, I can do absolutely for me, for the editor meet and greet. Yes.
okay, because I'm thinking that if we get the proposals drafted, then at least we can continue working on the other stuff, but we got to have something to present, and having a proposal drafted would be a big step in completing this process.
Definitely, but we cannot
Present them
minimize
without-
the importance of getting the speakers. It was underscored to me very, very clearly that we need to submit proposals with speakers.
Okay. Can we use tentative people? I mean, what is the, because we're at this point, it seems, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the speakers that we normally get. This is new for me. So correct me if I'm wrong, but can we use people who have tentatively agreed?
I do think I think my feeling on that, especially in pandemic, although it seems to be on the right track, is we, as long as we just can't put a name down for someone we haven't spoken to yet, hoping
Right.
or assuming, right? So if we talk to someone and they say, yes, I'm planning to be there, or they're in the area already, they're in DC, yes, I would love to do this. Great. If they fall off in August because they can't do it anymore, then that's fine. We replace them with someone else. I think that that's more than reasonable.
Definitely,
Okay.
because
We're not the only ones that are going to be doing that. They're going to be replaced, but we can't present, here's a bunch of speakers, all diverse, and pretend or just say we like to have them, and then none of them say yes, and then we've got a bunch of white women.
No, I would assume that we're going to speak to the speakers that we.
yes.
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay. Well, that Solomon, I will say that has not always happened in the past. We sort of, that has not always happened. We just kind of they'll do this, and you send out an email, but you might not hear back right away. And, just like to get a name on. And sometimes we have pitched them without a speaker at all. I think we've done that. I've done that with the first editor meet and greet.
Oh,
It didn't get approved.
okay. I did not know that. Okay, well, to be clear, so there's clarity, I'm thinking, what I meant by tentative is someone that you've spoken to has given you the idea that they can commit. Maybe they say, I need to double check my schedule. I'm interested, but you've spoken to them. They've given you the indication that they're willing to commit and be.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by tentative.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And that is totally acceptable.
Stacy, I need to go through I need to go through my legal pads that I live my life on. But back when I was researching stuff, I think for San Antonio, when I was going through the whatever the writer's book is called, I can't think of it. The big fat writer's book that tells you where
Writer's
to-
market.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I saw DC stuff, I wrote it down for like future reference. Because like you have like the Smithsonian Magazine, you have Voice of America,
Yeah.
you have a lot of people in DC who are going to be more apt to be willing to go than somebody who's going to have a flight and you don't know what coronavirus
Right.
is doing, and
Right.
so I will
Exactly.
look through my library of my life
Okay.
and see if I can find that list.
And also, I've wondered that before. I had some New Orleans, like I had the Times Picayune on board. Oh my God, my kid has not left for soccer. Are you kidding me? Oh man. So sorry. When I had that, I was like, oh, I got these local people, but I was like, wait, if you're a freelancer, this might be you might only come because it's in New Orleans if you're. So I think we are going to have more people from DC, just like it is everywhere, right? So I to get the mind, if like you just said, Susan, because I have my head in broadcast right now. Obviously, I know there's magazines and newspapers that like I'm going to obviously reach out to the
and-
Washington Post and these different places.
Well, DC
But if
has
you guys have some places, if you can send me just the publication, you don't have to do any more work than that. But like, I wouldn't have remembered the Smithsonian, for example. If you
Yeah.
can send some of those to me, just shoot off an email of 5 or 6, that'll get me started.
And there are a lot
that
of
would be
national
so helpful.
trade publications based there as well. So, and that's what I had made on my list, which is someplace in the house.
And I'll just point out that.
And what do I know we don't necessarily need to decide this right now, but what is our virtually? I think it's easier to do more people, but if we're in person, what is our sort of goal for number of editors? How many is too much? That's what I'm asking.
If you got
I'll
a
be able to
lot,
get enough, but I might.
couldn't you do it like, if you had a lot, couldn't you do it more like speed dating where you have them at tables and people can cycle through?
Yeah, I think it depends on how you want to format the.
Okay.
Can we get some of these on these
Ooh,
cards?
I wonder
so
if
that
that's how we should pitch it then. I wonder if we should pitch it that way.
Pitch
you're
it
saying-
what way?
But I wonder if we should pitch it that way, like speed dating. You know what I mean?
But they're gonna want to know who.
Well, that.
No, I know. That's what I'm
something
saying.
we
Like,
can
but
solve later.
I will get the people. I will have names. Oh, I see. Because I probably won't have 15 names, but I could end up with 15 people by the time we get to the conference. I see. Yeah, I probably only going to get 4 or 5
Yeah.
before, which is still more than enough to pitch it. Okay, I'm just going to pitch it regularly then with my whoever responds.
And I'll just add that this is like sending ideas to Stacy about editors. For one thing, a really good way to do it so that everybody can just be seeing the same information and to keep it out of email that's what Solomon made the Trello board for, is so that everybody
Okay,
can
perfect.
just go into that editor meet and greet column, that list, and make suggestions for Stacy or for anybody else too. Like if anybody has a suggestion for me on the like moving mediums. So right now I'm going to make, I just made a card that says speaker suggestions. And so you can just go in there and add them to the checklist on that card.
Okay.
And then that is a way for me to just, for everybody to keep track and be
Yeah.
able to have a
Thank you.
conversation.
That's the idea that I want. And then if there are any documents that you wanted everyone to have access to, or you needed the link, please put them in the card as well.
Yeah.
So that we have a centralized place for this, so we don't have to do this stuff in meetings. Then it's all there. And then if someone sends you something, if you want, you can, when you sign in, there'll be a list. It'll tell you all the new changes that you need to see.
Awesome. Thank
Okay.
you for setting that up, Solomon.
All right. And then feel free to change your column, but please don't change the way I have things arranged. So the general organization, change your column, add colors, stickers. I like stickers, pictures, whatever, but don't change the general arrangement, please.
Good point. And yes, Joan, that's a good question. This is a Trello board that Solomon has set up for the board members, and for really, I guess, for anybody who's working on the EIJ programming.
But Jane, if you have any suggestions for
Joan.
editors, oh, Joan, sorry. If you have any suggestions for editors, you can email me.
Joan, maybe you should put your hat in the ring to take the empty seat on our board.
It's very comfortable.
So could we also pop over to the other programming board? And
Yes. So the next subject would be, what are we doing this month?
Yes.
So I talked to, she's not here today. Ruth was working on, give me 1 second here. I'm switching my board here. Just give me a second. I'm working with my other laptop. I was packed to leave.
that's okay.
All right. So this month, to give us a break, should be general, our coffee clash / happy hour type deal. Because we just had a major event last month. So this month should be that coffee clash / thing. And then the next month was going to be Ruth. 1 second. Let's see here. She didn't put anything
On resumes.
Yeah, on resumes, but I'm looking for that card here, which should be. All right, so I'll have to go in here and shift this a little bit. But it was Ruth's resumes thing. And then I don't know what kind of help she needs. So I guess I'll give her a call and we'll see where she's at. And then I will update the card for her so that can be here. Because the whole point of the cards is so that we would be looking at it right now and see it and we wouldn't have any questions. So, but that's for March. That's for March. So this month we would just have our social, which we also need to name. We need to name these things. So that's something else that the board needs to do. We need to name that regular one.
Okay.
I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah, that's a good question. What's
Not
the
a
name?
fan of coffee clash. That was me being sarcastic when I used that.
Well, no, we've done that. We've done that at like for a morning little get together at the conference. We do a coffee clash.
Okay.
Do we want to call it happy hour? Do we want to call it just
Yeah.
like networking?
I'm asking for a name just so you guys know, because we need to name all of our events so that they're easier to advertise.
Yeah. I didn't hear what you said, Hazel.
Get together, chat.
I like networking because that would attract people who are interested.
Community over coffee.
Okay.
I don't know.
Just community coffee.
I'm surprised that we haven't gotten more into the weeds on this. We have a bunch of writers. I think everybody would be in here trying to help clever one another. Community over coffee was the first one I got there.
Or community, or community coffee. Freelance community happy hour. Community.
Networking. Yeah.
Networking.
Networking.
I think we need to use some keywords. I'd like to keep at least some of these keywords. So networking was one. Community is another one. What's another keyword that we need to include in here that will attract people?
Well, we would call it the SPJ freelance community, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so we already got the first part.
I would think we would, right? I don't know. Maybe we wouldn't. That's just an assumption on my part.
Okay, so freelance community and then or colon or whatever we want to put there. So we got, so far I got community coffee and networking. We got happy hour and networking and happy hour.
What about even shortening it to FLC networking?
SPJ FLC,
No, FLC.
just
Freelance.
FLC.
Yeah, freelance community, because it's going to be, surely it's going to be advertised within the everything that the SPJ puts out anyway. And
Right.
you will also have probably maybe as a header or, you know, in regards to that, it is the SPJ freelance community. So then you can just have it as the FLC networking,
Or FC.
Yeah, FC.
FC even.
Well, we use that shorthand ourselves, but I don't know if that's going to translate to other people.
Right.
What time is this at again?
That's the other question. We were going to have it at the same time.
Because it's going to be morning in some places, and because you can't, like, hey, meet us for happy hour at 9 a.m. Like,
I think I think it's tentatively scheduled for 4 o'clock.
okay.
Your time.
4
It
o'clock
could be
Eastern.
like BYOD, bring your own drink. I don't know.
I'm willing to make room at 1 o'clock to bring my own drink.
I like the idea of having the word networking in there, especially just as we start out here. And I think that will bring a lot of people.
What
The
if we
happy
just
hour
called
is
it-
throwing us off. And
Yeah.
trying to force that in there is throwing us off.
So what if we just call it SPJ freelance networking event?
Yep.
Okay,
Well,
and then
What about putting in something like networking mixer?
Oh, I like that.
I like
Because
that.
I think we want to show that it's going to be, fun too, not just.
I like them. I like that. I like networking mixer, or we could just call it a mixer, SPJ freelance mixer.
I like the networking in there because I think that gives it some value and purpose.
Yep.
We could also use and I'm totally fine to include it in the title. We could also just make sure to use the word networking in the description, in the tagline.
Oh, I'll definitely put that in there. We'll have that everywhere. We'll try to put that, do our little triplet. So quick question. I've never heard that. You said we often refer to ourselves internally as FC.
Yeah.
But that's just in like emails and
Right.
like,
No,
It's
I'm
just
fine with that.
shorthand.
That just sounds like a branding issue. Which no one else is familiar with. So do we want to use that?
I'm not a big fan of using FC because it just seems, I don't want to go all alphabet soup and sort of insidery. That seems a little bit more insidery. And I want to be like really clear, because not everybody, people who are not already really well steeped in the freelance community, I'm not sure that it would register immediately what FC means.
Okay, I just asked because I don't know how we brand ourselves to the general population there.
Yeah.
That's interesting because the international community does brand itself IC. IC Talks is
Right.
their
hashtag.
ongoing event. Right.
I will say that I know all about the international community. They're not like top of mind. If I saw something that said IC Talks, I would not know it was international community. I'd have to read more to know that.
Okay.
Oh my God, my wife's over here jumping in now.
So, Solomon, do you want to?
So I got freelance community networking mixer is what we ended
Okay.
up the last stop.
Good.
Great. Cool.
Okay, so
So
that's
do you
what it's
want to
called.
maybe draft like
The
the
advert.
graphic?
Yep.
and a description for that, and then we can get that into, I can work with you on the protocols for getting that into the newsletter and Facebook and,
Okay.
and everything, and SPJ leads and stuff.
Okay,
Okay, great.
we're looking to get that done by Friday.
That'd be great, because then we could, that'd be great, because then that's time to get it into leads and the newsletter.
Okay. And then we'll have time before that to lead with our social media as well.
Yeah,
You guys
Okay.
will tell me what to put in the newsletter, right?
yeah,
Thank you.
for sure.
We have
Okay.
another agenda item and it's,
Yeah, it's, and I do have that, I think that this wraps up the programming. Is there anything else programming related?
No, that's it.
Okay.
don't go away, Solomon.
And as for resources, I'll just bring to everybody's attention a reminder to go through the On Your Own guide. And if you see anything that's missing or needs to be updated, please flag that for Ruth and maybe CC me for now. But I need to work with Ruth to do some backwards planning to make sure that we get that on an actual production schedule. I do have a really quick question that Hazel might be able to answer. There was somebody named Colton who was going to look into alternative publishing platforms. Have we heard from him? Okay. All right. Fair enough.
What do we mean by alternative publishing platforms?
So right now, the On Your Own guide is the way that it's published is a giant pain in the ass to update. And since we're doing like a big, sort of update of it, we're looking into other ways to publish it that are not a giant pain in the ass.
You mean like an ebook or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Or, having separate pages and chapters is nice, but yeah, just some way to do it other than having somebody have to hand code HTML, which is the way it's done right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, an ebook would probably be easier because that could be.
You think?
I wrote an ebook once on dentistry or something, and it was
Nice, Stacy.
hideous. It was awful.
Yeah. Was it awful because of the format or?
Yep. There's a lot of awful things about it, but actually it was my very first SPJ conference that I went to, and I met Eric Francis and Robin, and I had only been doing health at that time. I did food, but not as much. And I was doing a lot of health reporting, and someone in Arkansas asked Eric to do this, and he's like, "Oh, I don't do that." And then he sent it to me. So I got a gig out of my very first SPJ conference.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Okay, well, I just wanted to check in on that. And then, we wanted to also talk about the freelance fund. So
I
there,
put the link in the chat.
oh, thank you.
I created a folder just to bring everybody up to date. I was asked by headquarters to coordinate through the freelance community for how we can help the SPJ Foundation administer a new fund to provide resources and money to freelancers. And so the link that I put in the chat is the statement that was approved at the Foundation board meeting in November.
And I don't have a sense, please correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have a sense that there is like a checklist of what needs to be done to implement this. So is that correct? There's not a checklist, right? Okay,
Oh, well, it will be put into the list of funds that people can donate to. So, and I was hoping that we could have some programs or funding opportunities or whatever ready so that we have something to show by the April Giving Tuesday or Giving Newsday or whatever the spring time is when SPJ and other nonprofits ask for donations.
right. So, okay, so it will be put into the list of funds that people can donate to.
Right.
What do we need to do to, if anything, to get it actually created?
The fund is actually created. It was created at the end of 2021.
Okay, so the
so
fund
there
exists.
is money there in the foundation.
Okay, so the fund exists. And
Yes,
now
we need to help SPJ come up with, how do we think it should appear on the website to let people know what kinds of programs might, would we, do we want to, just like do one or two fellowships for the conference? Or do we want to have one thing that I've been trying to think this through of some kinds of things that we could have the funds used for. And one is mini grants. And there are a couple of purposes that could be used for. But I also came across something what I found interesting. Let me get this other thing open here so I can tell you. ProPublica has just announced that they will provide need-based stipends for 25 students to attend journalism conferences in 2022. So that's, we could kind of work off of that and say, okay, so this will be for freelancers and the stipend will be X dollars and we will award 5 of them or 10 of them or whatever. And eventually we'll have to come up with a form for people to apply. And there will need to be a committee of people to select who will get the stipends or the scholarships or the whatever.
What kind of criteria? What are we looking for?
Well, this hasn't been decided.
So really, we need to decide. Can you remind me? Sorry, let me just back up one step. Can you remind me who has the authority over the funds? Is it us? Is it the SPJ board? Is it
No.
recommendations
Nothing
to
to do
the?
with
I mean, not the
SPJ.
SPJ, not the SPJ board, the foundation board.
Foundation board.
Do we make recommendations to the foundation board?
We were asked to help headquarters set up these things and figure that out. And the foundation doesn't really want any more work than it's already got.
Okay.
So now it'll just be a question of working with headquarters on it.
Okay. I just popped into the chat a link to a list of the foundation programs.
It's logical to me that it would be there.
Yeah. So we need to write up a blurb on it
But
too.
The other place it would be is if you sign in. Oh, this is terrible. There should be a donations page or something. Wherever there's a donations page. Yeah, I just found it. So there's the First Amendment Forever Fund, the SPJ Mission Fund.
Can you put a link to that in the chat?
Oh, not really. This is just listing my contributions because I'm inside my,
Oh.
it isn't what I was looking for. I was looking for a place where where SPJ asks people to give donations. Oh, up at the very top of the SPJ
Donate.
website, it says donate.
Yeah.
And there are things listed there: foundation funds to support First Amendment Forever, Legal Defense Fund, SPJ Mission Fund. And so the SPJ Foundation Freelance Fund will be listed there. I guess, I mean, but there needs to be, I was asked to help coordinate this. And so I will work with headquarters on it, but the question is, are there one or two other people who would like to work with me on that? Because I don't feel good being the only one.
Yeah, definitely.
And then eventually when we get, I'm assuming it's all going to go smoothly and people will be applying for grants or funding or whatever. And then there's going to need to be a committee of people to decide who gets the money. And these have to be people who agree that they're not going to apply for it.
Yeah. So we basically, I think what we need to do right now is just like set up a working group, similar to what we are working on getting it off the ground for the bylaws. So
Well, like, once this is established, like, is it possible to, like, let's say if you had a seminar or like, a webinar online, that you could say, when you sign up, like, would you like to donate $10 to the blah, whatever
Absolutely.
fund?
Oh yeah.
So instead
sure.
of like saying this is 10, this is this much money, have it as a donation.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll all be possible in the future, but we have to get there. And I like Hillary's idea of having a working group to work
Okay.
on it.
So Hazel's obviously on the working group.
I'll do this working group.
What's that?
I will do this working group.
Okay, awesome. And I'm happy to chime in. Does anybody else want to join? All right, Hazel, Hillary, and Susan. Cool.
Okay.
That sounds good. That sounds great. So Hazel, do you want to offline connect with me and Susan and we can schedule our first meeting of the working group?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Let me go through my notes here.
So while Hillary's looking, I'll just give you a quick update on the ABC test and AB5 stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So the NLRB, the Labor Relations
National
Board,
Labor Relations Board.
is taking up a case. It actually has to do with super shuttles, but the basic question that they're asking is, should we change the rule with how we define independent contractors. So it impacts all freelancers, not just Super Shuttle. And so we as a board have signed on to an amicus brief that is being filed today, I believe, or yesterday, with that through the Kim Cavan and the Fight for Freelancers group wrote this, and many of our board members read it. It basically is standing up for the right for freelancers like ourselves to remain independent. And so we have signed on to that as the SPJ freelance community with a little blurb on what our community is. And then coming up, ASJA, which is the another journalist, what is it? The American Society of Journalists and Authors. They are involved in a battle against AB5 in California, which is what really impacted my business here, which basically says that freelancers, unless you are exempt in California, there's 200 or 300 exemptions now. Basically, you cannot work in the same field as the company you're doing work for, and that with the prongs of the ABC test. And so the case has made its way up to being filed with the Supreme Court, and oh, and Hazel says we're third on that list. So that case is being filed with the Supreme Court in, I believe, late March. And once the attorneys handling that case it's very expensive to file amicus briefs with the Supreme Court. And so they are setting up the briefs, and then everybody that the attorneys are in contact with, which I'm the point person there, they're going to contact them and say, hey, would you be willing to sign on to this brief? We think you align with this one most closely. And so then we would get a chance to read that brief and decide if we would like to sign on to that. And we can also ask the main board of SPJ as well, if they would. I've also considered asking other chapters, such as the Northern California chapter, which has been an advocate before on and signed on to cases. So I may send out a couple of emails to chapters to ask if they would be interested in signing on, particularly if the main board decides that it doesn't want to. So that's where we are on that. So we're signed on to one and we're waiting for the other.
Thank you so much.
And if you want to
Or-
know more about the ABC test and AB5 in California, feel free to email me and I will fill you in.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your leadership on that and for being the point person. It feels really good to be able to put our names onto an official document like that. And that's like a pretty big win for us. This is a new, this is the
next step.
Yeah. So I think it's really exciting and I really appreciate you being the wrangler.
Yeah, and there are ABC rules and laws being considered at various stages in various states. And so this is not just a California issue at this point. And obviously the Supreme Court has to decide whether it will hear the case. That's a whole other thing. So this is all just, yeah. Hazel lives there. She knows.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for the update and keep us
And on
posted.
Twitter, we now have more than 5,100 followers.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't looked at Facebook lately. 2,000 or 3,000.
Not quite 3,000. It's like 20. No. Yeah, I forget. Sorry.
I can't remember either.
It's like 2271 on Facebook.
Yeah.
Cool.
Not quite 2,300. That's
Yeah,
right.
Hazel's been doing more on that because I kind of slacked off when I had deadlines.
That's good. You have deadlines.
I know.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, anything else before we wrap up, other than I do want to confirm the next meeting, make sure that that is in everybody's calendar.
Are you guys, I guess Hillary and Hazel is my question, but do you guys get emails on the delegate task force when they're gonna meet, or is that you just find out?
No, they're supposed to be announcing it. It's supposed to be scheduled. It's supposed to be public. It's supposed to be announced. And they're
Okay.
not.
Okay, because there are some others that are making it. I don't know if it just happens to be. So I'll mention that to Adam, but I will I just wanted to know, because when the next one is scheduled, I'll send it to everybody on the board in case anybody wants to join in, but it's open and public, so anybody can come. But I'll make sure that you guys know. I just thought maybe you guys knew last time because, well, one, because of Robert anyway, but also Hillary, because you were speaking at one. So that's why I thought you knew about those, but I didn't know if you were still getting the updates going forward.
No.
Okay.
No.
Interesting.
It's an interesting meeting to go to, particularly when somebody who's on the SPJ board says, is it okay for the board to put its thumb on the scale when deciding who's going to be a regional delegate?
Is it the same link that you shared with me last time? Or do they make a new Zoom meeting every time?
They make a new one every time.
It's a new one, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that there's going to be one in February. I'm hoping, maybe I'll send out an email to Adam just to double check, just to see. So I've got a ton of stuff to do in February, so I want to make sure I'm available for it.
Okay. And Ginny, thank you so much for the heads up about the March 9th meeting. Sorry you won't be able to make it, but I really appreciate you handling the minutes.
Yeah, and also, side note, my membership is actually up for renewal, so I went on to try to renew it, and I do see, like, when I log in, I do see that you can check the chapter squares, but there's nothing about the communities on there now.
That's correct. Yeah. And that's what we're
On
working
your
on.
profile page.
That's what we're working on changing. No, but you're not prompted when you're in the course of
Right.
renewing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to work on changing now that the new web person is in place.
Cool, great, thank you.
Thank you. And thank everybody for being here. And I am going to, I'm still working on getting around to that, like the master Trello board. But I think it's awesome that Solomon is getting all of us to use the Trello interface for the programming planning. And I'm going to build on that and try to migrate a lot of the ongoing planning and stuff to another Trello board that everybody will have access to.
Good.
Just because I want to try to stay really like clear on what are our priorities and what are we checking off, the list, to make sure that things are getting taken care of in the run up to, to the fall conference, annual meeting, and elections and everything. So stay tuned. And thank you all for coming. I'm gonna go ahead and, unless I hear anything else, conclude the meeting.
I'm going to go get a glass of wine. Nice to see everybody. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
We'll see you later. Bye.
You didn't need
Bye.
me for anything else then, because I have like 30 minutes.
Let me just stop recording.